Good morning, everybody. So, I had a fantastic voice activation yesterday, and I wanted to open up this time as a portal for additional voice activation, not only for this vessel, but for all vessels that are watching. What do I mean by voice activation? Well, that means a couple of things. Specifically, it means grounding in the voice and allowing for the voice to move through naturally as it is designed, and that ends up doing a couple of things. One, it grounds the voice, it stabilizes the voice, not only moving from the heart center, but it grounds it down through the gut and into the root. And it also allows it to pour out of the top of the being and to stabilize it furthermore in the third eye. But what that looks like outwardly is a deepening of one's vocal capacities and talents, singing, caterwauling, making certain noises. It could look like what people call beatboxing or light language or different vocal techniques of producing sound that has particular effects on the listener or on the space around oneself. So, I make funny sounds. I sing. I do all kinds of things with the voice. And if you couldn't tell by the particular sound of this voice, it's a little different. I can't quite name or articulate the qualities of that. I mean, I suppose I could, but I don't care to at the moment. But my voice is different. And I've always had that pointed out to me. And my whole life, I've been around people who have made me, or who've kind of thrashed me for my voice, who in one way or the other have tried to get me not to speak, not only because of the content of what comes out of my mouth, but who, when singing, have, made fun of me, mocked me, belittled me, put me down, been really, really cruel to me. I mean, called me really, really foul names. And these are people who I was in relationships with and so on. And so, as well as, family not being supportive and everything being turned into a matter of perfection and competition and whatever. And so, I've experienced all kinds of attacks on my voice my entire life. And I've had many, many periods in life where I've gone through very extreme vocal activations. And the stepping out and the using of that for God, for truth, for love, is the essentially the challenge of the medicine of a lifetime. So I'd like to simply sit here in the open-endedness of this and share the voice raw and live. I'm not promising any kind of a concert or any kind of an exposition at this point, but rather this is about simply using the voice without putting any kinks in it. It's been a very common practice of mine to put kinks in my own voice, not only in terms of what I'm saying and how I'm delivering what I have to deliver, but also in terms of bending the physical voice itself in order to make people comfortable. Whether it's baby talking the cat, as opposed to just talking to the cat the way that I would talk to anybody, or even when talking to certain people, switching up the sound of my voice in order to make the person that I'm speaking to feel more comfortable in my presence. My voice carries a lot of power, and it's been my experience that people find that very uncomfortable. My body carries a lot of power. And so simply being able to sit here in stillness as I can, and to carry the voice fully as I can, has always made people feel very awkward and itchy and unable to really stand being in my presence for more than a few seconds or a few minutes, because the nature of my power and my being is that of an immovable mountain. I'm also a graceful swan. I'm a dancer, I'm a writer, I'm a singer, etc. And so I know how to move in grace, and I love moving in grace. Grace is my being. And the basis of that grace is this immovability, this very firm, solid presence. And that firm, solid presence has always made people very uncomfortable because they can't push me, they can't get what they want from me, they can't make me say what they want me to say, etc. And that power, which is the power of love, the power of truth, is a power of exorcism. It's a power that does not allow flimsy, wafy, I'm going to use the word demonic, and I don't mean that in some contrived sense. I mean that in the sense of manipulative, ignorant, exploitative energies to have their way here. And I've been around people my whole life who have operated from that frequency, from that level, from that place of exploitation and the need to control. And such people do not like a strong, powerful voice, or a strong, powerful body, or a strong, powerful presence. So, moving into this place of just accepting my power, accepting my presence, which I always have accepted it, but accepting it in the presence of others. And that also means accepting the appearance of imperfection by other people's standards, which is partially why, over the past few days, I've simply woken up in the morning raw and unrefined, so to speak, and have simply began recording without editing, without cutting, without trying to speak perfectly. And, yesterday, the video that I filmed, my cat he got sick and all these sorts of things, right? And so I just let it all be as it was, messy, waking up with the tika smeared across my forehead and not wearing a shirt, letting my little belly say hello, and not being bothered by any of it, just here I am. And as simple and ridiculous as it is, or it may seem, it's actually an incredible rooting into the system and then into the earth through the system. And it's been coinciding with a deepening in my Aiki practice, in a deepening in which coincides with a return to my home dojo a few weeks ago, and a deepening in my dance practice, a deepening in my yoga practice, a deepening in my relationships with the very ground that I walk on, with everything and everybody around me. And that reveals more and more deeply the intentions of the people around, because it forces people to reveal themselves and who they actually are and what they actually want and the software system that they're operating by. And I already know these things. None of it's a mystery to me. None of it's a mystery to you. You already know these things. It's just that when you abide here in the immovability of self, it forces everybody around you to confess to their self-perceived inadequacies, their self-hatreds, their self-distortions, and their addiction to identifying and clinging and maintaining those self-distortions, which can only be maintained by forcing them onto the people around you. And so when somebody is insecure and they hate themselves, and you are not insecure and you don't hate yourself, and I'm not talking about being ostentatious and trying to counteract self-hatred by being ridiculous in a contrived way. No. I'm talking about really being here, in the fullness of being, not needing permission from anybody or anything to say yes or no or stop or move, get the hell out of the way. Not needing permission, not being psychically dependent on anybody or anything, on belonging or not belonging, on being seen as good or bad or indifferent, being totally unconcerned with that. Being situated firmly in the immovability of truth and love and wisdom and being. That mountain-like immovability disturbs and upsets those forces which are unconsciously contrived and simply running around the track looking for any weak point to come in and begin terrorizing from the inside out. And when you have no openings in which anybody can come in to terrorize you, then which only comes from total self-acceptance, then those forces which are antagonistic by nature, they will begin rearing their head and screaming, and they either have two options: attack the mountain or run. And so if the mountain is unassailable, it's a waste of their energy, and they either dissipate their energy completely in the attack, which means they end up surrendering, or they run to try to save some of that energy and then either come back to regroup for another attack another day, or else they just go away. And so I hope that you're here with me and you're feeling this, because this is a vocal activation for you too. This is a stabilizing activation for you also. There's no need or desire here to look a certain way. I don't have to, hello everybody, blah, blah, blah. No, this is just very fluid and very free and very raw and very clear and very open. And there's no need to try to make anything look a certain way. And in that, there is a natural refinement that takes place. When you simply surrender to the immovability of your being, which is not stubbornness, it's not, it's rooting in the actual, non-physical, eternal, beginningless, endless, unconditioned and unconditional love, peace, truth, God, being completely in that. And allowing the body, allowing the voice, allowing every part of the body to be completely in that, without fear, without any worry whatsoever about, will this be received, will it not be received, will this harm me, will people look at this and then judge me and then not give me what I think I want, which may be whatever it is, whether it's money or an audience, which ends up coming down to stability, security. If I don't perform properly, will I be punished by having my security ripped away from me? And as long as one is operating from that place, there's no integrity. There's no stability in one's base. So when there is ultimate faith in God, when there's ultimate faith in life, when there's ultimate faith in being itself, in consciousness and awareness, then there's no concern about whether anybody else is able to hear and receive or not. And then there's a deepening of refinement, which allows more and more people to be able to come in and receive, because there's a whole different frequency emanating here. One that is coming from love, one that's coming from truth, one that's coming from pure, raw being. And there's no conditions upon it at all whatsoever. And so one is simply here as life. And that's being totally at odds with society, which wants you to stand awkwardly and speak awkwardly and hold yourself awkwardly and have an awkward relationship with your sense of body and your sense of self. Otherwise, they can't convince you there's something wrong with you. And if you can't be convinced that there's something wrong with you, you can't be sold bullshit products, whether physical products or mental or emotional products or spiritual products or any kind of products, because you know there's nothing wrong with you. Because you are consciousness, you are pure awareness, you are that, you are love, unconditional and unconditionally, and there's nothing wrong with that. And people who desperately believe that they are the mind and that there is something wrong with them, they can't handle hearing that. They go, no, there's something wrong with you because there's something wrong with everybody because nobody's perfect. Nobody exists. A somebody is a figment of the imagination. And all somebodies are distorted creatures. Of course, if you believe that you are a somebody, you're going to feel that there's something wrong with you and you have to go and do this and that to get better and to improve. If you are here as that which is eternal, there's nothing to fix, nothing to improve, nothing to work on. Nothing. And if you're identified with the mind, you can't get over that. You can't get through that. You can't get around that. Because the mind itself is an imperfect thing. The mind itself is what's imperfect. There's nothing wrong with the body. Nothing. There's nothing wrong with the body. And every body is what it is. And this body is sitting right now, and this body dances. And this body does martial arts, Aikido. And this body does yoga, yogasana, yoga, right? I mean, yoga is a whole thing, but this body is physically active, as it needs to be. And the body also can sit wonderfully in rest and stillness. So the body's fine. There may be some, if improper food is eaten, that affects the digestion and then it causes inertia in the body and whatever. And different bodies have different health issues and so on. And that itself is even irrelevant. If you'd like, one could put the body under the camera of social scrutiny, and one can look to see if there are hairs in places where there shouldn't be hairs, or if the teeth are perfectly straight, or you know, if the ass is fat enough or whatever, whatever, whatever. I mean, you can do all these things, right? You can look at the body and go, oh, well, you have, I don't even know what it's all fine. You've got a burn right there and you've, whatever the fuck, who gives a shit? That has nothing to do with anything. That has nothing to do with anything. The muscles could always be bigger. The hair could always be, you know, oh, you got some split ends and cut them off or whatever. I mean, you can always look at things, right? That's nothing. That doesn't mean anything. Who gives a shit? The only imperfection is the mind. And the mind is only an imperfection when it is attempted to be crystallized as an identity. Because that demands an ignorant looking. It demands a lie. And when you lie, there's the imperfection. And what is the lie? The lie is that you are the body-mind. And when you know yourself not to be the ego, not to be the body-mind, when you know yourself to be the eternal presence of being itself, there's no imperfection anywhere. Anywhere. Not inside, not outside. There's no imperfection. It doesn't exist. All is perfect. Everything is perfect. All imperfection is concocted, contrived, created by the mind, and then forced outwardly. And that's called violence. So, people who want imperfection, who want to perceive imperfection, they want something to fix. They want to feel that they have special permission to punish somebody or something, including themselves. And you can't live that way. It's ridiculous to live that way. That's how you are controlled by external forces. You can call it the ego, you can call it a demon, call it whatever you want to call it. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference what you call it. It's an exploitative, abusive, unconscious force of inertia, which runs on a track. And that is what the entirety of civilization operates on, at least superficially. Underneath all of that, obviously, there's only God. God is the only reality. Even the appearance of that unconscious software program is an illusion. And so believing yourself to be the ego, the body, the mind, that is succumbing to the illusion. So get rid of this idea of, you know, we all have an ego and fuck off. The ego doesn't exist. That's part of the ego's trap, is believing that you have to capitulate to the social narrative. Whether it's everybody needs to go to therapy, if you're caught in your ego and you're unwilling to go inward and face and accept the reality of who and what you are completely, which includes the ego, but which is beyond the ego, if you're not willing to do that, then yeah, you have to go to therapy and psychology and all that bullshit. But when you are really here and clear in the truth of being, you see that no religion, no science, no art, no philosophy, and no psychology can help you or tell you who and what you are. Those are all manifestations of the mind, which is thought. And thought is a machine. And that machine is either being held in the hands of love or held in the hands of ignorance. And the machine of thought is either being used for the well-being of all being, or it's being used as a weapon to destroy, maim, violate, and kill. Up to you. How are you holding yourself? Are you held in love or are you held in ignorance? And love means complete acceptance of the self. Complete self-acceptance. And so then there's no need to distort yourself anymore for anybody else's comfort in any way. Not because you think it'll get you more likes, more views, or it'll increase your safety and security, or increase your access to money or sex, or increase your access to anything. You're not concerned about any of that. And not out of some ignorance of what it is to not have that, because one has had all those things, and one has not had those things. And having those things and not having those things, if you are not in integrity, if you're not in alignment, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference. You can have all of the stuff, but if you're not in integrity, if you're not in alignment, it literally doesn't matter. They're poisons. But the world looks at them as some great golden goose, some great golden medal that you have won. And the truth is there is no winning or losing here. There's nothing that you can have and keep. There is no object that is a true reward. Reward and punishment are projections of the ego. And so we think that having these things is reward and not having these things is punishment. It's not true. It's not true at all. That's part of conditioning. And so if you don't see anything as punishment or reward, nobody has power over you. And people who want power over you are evil people. That's called the demon or the ego or wickedness or whatever you want to call it. Ignorance, distortion, lies, violence. Call it whatever you want to call it. Don't get picky or hung up on the words. It's irrelevant. Anybody who's operating from love does not want to use punishment and reward. That's barbaric. It's unintelligent. Love goes with intelligence. Fear goes with ignorance. Hatred goes with ignorance. So, one must completely have command over one's own voice. And as long as the voice is being operated by unconscious patterns of conformity and obedience to anything, then the voice is not free, and it will not have the resonance of integrity. And therefore, the true power of love will be completely absent from the voice. That is, the true essence and the power of creation will be totally absent from the voice. However, if there is that self-awareness, that love, that complete self-acceptance, which is no fear, then the voice does have magnetic resonance. Then it does bring in who and what it needs to bring in, and it pushes out that which it needs to push out. And that resonance is operating here through the heart, and indeed through the throat, and even through the third eye, and through all the centers, really, even in absolute silence. That means no vocal expression. Same power. No fear. Love. Very simple. And then one can do or say whatever one would like, because you're free to be silly, you're free to make mistakes, you're free to be imperfect. Because there's no such thing as imperfection. Whether you hit the correct note or you don't, that's not a mistake. That's not imperfection. That is life. That's learning. That's process. And learning doesn't stop. Learning is 24/7. Learning is always on. You can say that process is always on. All of that is always on. And finally you see there is no process. There's just being. There's expressing. And there's a natural cutting away of the excess that takes place. It's like on the mat working with Boken and Joe working with the sword and the spear. It has nothing to do with the sword and the spear. It's how the body moves with the sword and the spear. And it's the cutting away of the excess of unnecessary movement, of unnecessary tension, of unnecessary mental and emotional clutter. And so working with the sword cuts away the excess complexity that is just clutter. And so working with the true sword of the shining intellect, of the enlightened intellect, cuts away. It allows the true voice to rise in both speech and silence, and that cuts away the excess. It cuts away the ignorance. It cuts away the distortion. And so a true practice of martial art, a true practice of dance, a true practice of yoga, a true practice of speech, a true practice of singing, a true practice of writing, of poetry, a true practice of any art whatsoever, of any science, of any spiritual movement at all, which is all the same thing. A true practice of that, of anything, cuts away the excess. It naturally brings about refinement in a way which is joyful, in a way which vitalizes the spirit, the body, the heart, the gut, the mind, the brain, everything. Totally revitalized in true practice. And so it's not practice in the sense of repeating something. It is a conscious, living, non-pre-programmed act of living connection with life and all that is. Connecting completely with the body, with the mind, with the heart, with the emotions, with the environment, with the person in front of you, with whatever instrument you're holding, whether it's a pen or a sword. It doesn't make a difference. It's the same thing. It's a tool. And it's a tool for self-refining. It's a tool for polishing the body, the mind, the heart, the gut, the brain, the soul, the spirit, everything. And for deepening connection and relationship to all around you, including the self. including God, which is obviously all that is, everything. And there's a natural confidence that comes out of that. And the word confidence means to have faith. There's faith. Faith in one's true self, faith in God, faith in love, faith in being, faith in peace, faith in compassion, faith in relationship, faith in connection, faith in life. And when that faith deepens, it deepens and broadens and widens and can hold more and more and more. And so then one's body sharpens, one's mind becomes crisper, one's intellect becomes as a razor, one's ability in dance, on the floor or on the mat, or in everyday relationship, one's capacity to hold one's voice, to take up the space that one's body occupies, and then some, because the body occupies its space. Your bioelectromagnetic field, or your aura, it occupies its space, which is larger than the body. You know, it extends out to the fingertips and a little bit past. And so you occupy your space. You allow your whole being to fill up the space it occupies in every dimension of your being. And then there's no shame or guilt in the voice. And then you can laugh, you can dance, you can sing, you can play. You're free to be free in all dimensions of being, and only then is there true learning. Otherwise, there's a crusty contraction, and then you become whatever. Not even that, because when people are crusty and contracted, they're just dead. They're like corpses walking around. And unfortunately, that's the ideal that the wider and broader culture has inculcated into people. To be a crusty, stale, unmoving, unfeeling, unable, therefore, to actually be anything than an unconscious robot. But believing that you're somehow free, and you're not. Unless you're completely malleable, able to be totally flexible. Malleable doesn't mean that you let, anybody to push you around. You're in the immovability of being. But the body and the mind are completely flexible, totally flexible. And the deepening of that flexibility, of that flexion, is always growing, because the body can always be more flexible. And so that's yoga, that's martial art, that's dance. It's not about hardening yourself. The mountain is sufficiently hard. That is solid. You don't need to be hard. You have to know from where you move. And in the body, you move from here. And that's the body, the mind, and the energy system. I think I might close that. I don't know if that's disturbing the audio. I hope that wasn't disturbing to the audio. I have no way of knowing. This is supposed to cut away, not until I watch it afterward, but this is supposed to cut away any excess disturbing sound bits coming from the outside. We'll see how well it did. I'm going to post it anyway, because I doubt anyone's going to watch this far. If they do, that's fantastic. I hope somebody does, but this is all about cutting away the excess. And so each one of these videos, however many people watch or don't watch, it's not the point. If even one person watches, hi, hello. And if nobody's watching, that's great too, because God is watching and I'm watching. And so this is just like being on the mat practicing solo, or being on the dance floor dancing solo, or singing or writing or doing anything like that solo. It's the exact same thing. It has just as much value because it's real. It's raw. It's coming from the heart, from the gut, from the higher awareness. And so it's an act of refinement. Whether it's witnessed or not witnessed, it is always being witnessed by God, by the true self, which witnesses everything, bar none, sans exception. So, if you are here as a fellow human, welcome and thank you for being this far with me. I appreciate it very, 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 very much. Very much. And I hope that you are. I pray that you're getting as much out of this as I am in sharing this with you and giving this exposition and giving this satsang. So, I was actually just given I was given charge of the outdoor Krishna shrine at the temple that I monkey at the other day. And so I was basically just given a satsang platform podium, a dance, an outdoor dance studio, meditation hall, and a place to invite my friends from the dojo to practice and play outdoors in a beautiful space that happens to be sandwiched between some orchards and farms, and it's very nice. So, woo-wee. Feel a little bit of a sneezy sneeze, and I'm gonna have to pee in a second. So, we'll see how much further this video goes, but this is all part of open sharing and a part of sharing the voice, telling the truth, and the vocal activation. Oh. Not looking perfect by any standard of social perfection, and in that there's a deeper perfection, a deeper order that is allowed to reveal itself, that has nothing to do with the superficial egoic model of what it's supposed to mean to be refined or to be on point or to be perfected, which has nothing to do with truly being on point or truly being perfected or truly being refined. And it is incumbent upon all of that, on all of us, to surrender to the truth of genuine refinement, of genuine order, of genuine peace, of genuine love, of genuine perfection, which is the birthright of all beings, and that is consciousness itself, awareness itself, truth itself, love itself, God itself, which is inseparable from the truth of who and what you really are. It's all there is. God is all there is. God is what you are. Very good. So with that, I think I'm going to let you go. I'll probably be back in a little bit with another broop broop, whether it's here or there or anywhere, but I think I'm gonna go pee and then take a shower, get some water, probably get some water before I take a shower, and then figure out what the frack I'm gonna do with the day until the ball. There's a ball tonight. We have a gothic ball tonight in, well, should I even tell you where? Yeah, it's fine, go ahead. Sacramento. I'm in Central California, and so there is I dance with the goth community out in Sacramento. I probably shouldn't be telling you any of these things, but just, whatever, it's okay. But yeah, tonight is the goth ball, so here we go. Don't be weird and stalkerish, please. I love you. Thank you. Bye.